In 1912, the Titanic sank after colliding with an iceberg. It was one of the biggest maritime disasters in history. At the time, the ship was considered the peak of technology, carrying passengers from all walks of life. Just 4 days into its maiden voyage, it struck an iceberg and sank in the North Atlantic Ocean, about 3,800 meters deep. And ever since then, people have been asking, why haven't we raised the Titanic from the bottom of the ocean? First, we need to understand that lifting something that massive from such a depth is incredibly difficult. At 3,800 meters below sea level, the pressure is enormous, over 380 times the pressure we experience at the surface. The water is near freezing, around 1 to 2 degrees Celsius, and it's pitch black down there with no natural light. The Titanic is no longer in one piece. It split in two while sinking, and over time, corrosion, pressure, and chemical reactions have caused much of the structure to decay or collapse. The metal it was made from has become extremely fragile. Any attempt to move or lift it could cause it to completely disintegrate. It could literally crumble into dust underwater. From a technical standpoint, we'd need highly specialized equipment and giant robotic submarines just to reach those depths and carefully grab large sections of the wreck without damaging them further. And this wouldn't be cheap. Even a basic exploratory mission costs millions of dollars. A full recovery operation could cost hundreds of millions, with no guarantee of success. So the big question is, who's going to pay for it? Governments don't see any economic benefit, and private companies aren't interested in investing in something that's essentially a financial black hole. There's no clear return on investment. And worse, the project could face major ethical backlash. Which brings us to another point, the legal and moral side of things. International agreements made in 2003 and again in 2012 protect the Titanic site. That's because it's not just a shipwreck, it's a mass grave. Over 1,500 people died there. Disturbing the wreck is seen by many as disrespecting the dead. That said, some small pieces have been brought up over the years, things like cutlery, jewelry, parts of furniture, and they've been displayed in museums around the world. But even those efforts sparked controversy. Were they honoring the memory of the victims or exploiting a tragedy? Some critics call it nothing less than grave robbery. And because of how the Titanic was built, many of the objects that have been recovered began to deteriorate as soon as they reached the surface. The sudden change in pressure, temperature, and humidity caused the metal to break down, and some artifacts completely disintegrated. Even so, modern technology has allowed us to closely study and monitor the condition of the wreck. In recent years, robotic submarines have scanned and mapped the entire site. They've documented the slow but steady collapse of the ship, especially the bow section, which was once the most recognizable part. Even if we leave it alone, nature and time are continuing to erase it. And then we have to ask, even if we could raise the Titanic, should we? The Titanic isn't just a sunken ship. It's a symbol, a story, a piece of humanity's memory. Its presence at the bottom of the ocean adds to its mystery and power. Some say that keeping it there is what keeps its story alive. From a human perspective, many descendants of the victims strongly oppose raising the wreck. They see the site as the final resting place of their loved ones, a place that should remain undisturbed and respected. Lifting the ship could be seen as desecrating a sacred space. So even though we've come a long way technologically, even though we've explored the far reaches of Earth and even space, the Titanic still rests at the bottom of the sea. A silent witness to a tragedy that the world is still talking about more than 100 years later. Not because we can't bring it up, but maybe because we shouldn't. And despite everything we know now, the Titanic remains down there, sinking in deep silence, as if whispering secrets lost for more than a century. Imagine that one day, a modern submersible dives to the wreck. It reaches the heart of the ship and opens a door that hasn't been touched since 1912. Inside, they find a handwritten note. And it says, "If you're reading this, a miracle has happened. Tell our story, but let us rest." Maybe the Titanic doesn't need to be raised. Maybe its place in the depths is proof that not everything is meant to return to the light. So, if it were your story, would you want the world to pull it from the depths? Or would you rather stay where you are, in peace? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed the story, hit like and subscribe to the channel so you never miss a question that keeps you thinking before you sleep. See you in the next episode with another Before Bed Quest.